Hello, 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 friends. Nicholas here, DIVO, TED Talks, Devoted Talks, where we take ancient wisdom and practices through a modern lens and experience to help you and those you love and suffering in your and theirs and the greater world as a whole. Yeah. Oh, my friends, I have a lot on my mind in lots of different directions. And if I'm being honest and I'm being, fully, you know, externally processor that I am, I am creating lots of circumstances that are absolutely justified, but the way I'm framing them in my mind is causing me more duress and stress and challenge than really needs to be. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I'm having arguments and fights in my head with people that I don't even really have to. Like, I'm making myself energetically tied to things that I can just let go and move on from, just like other things in my life that I have moved on and let go of in the past. And in some ways I get enjoyment out of it because I want to own the person who did me wrong, or I want to own them and make them feel the way they made me feel, but forgetting the fact that I only feel the way I do because I let their words impact me in a way that facilitated that, right? Eleanor Roosevelt said, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. And I don't feel inferior, but I am feeling a certain way, and I'm allowing that to be the case. I think about a kid trying to walk, and they get back up and they try again and they try again and they try again. And they're not deterred unless of something inside of them allowing them to feel that way, right? And, as supportive family members or watchers, we don't go, "Oh, you dummy. Gosh, can't walk. Ugh, what's wrong with you?" You're very encouraging for it. And then, people who are struggling with drinking or alcohol, all of a sudden we're like, "Oh, well, you know how that is. You know how they are. It's like this completely different honoring of experience, because a lot of people have judgment on experiences that they've never had. One thing I was thinking about this morning is I've had a lot of experiences in life, a lot, a lot, a lot. And one of the key things that my family members pointed out was like, you're the only person I know that can fall in shit and come up smelling like a rose every time. And I was like, I don't know how to take that. I mean, obviously it was a compliment in its own backhanded way, because, the things that they were commenting on that I had fallen into quote unquote shit of, were things that they didn't like. But in the grand scheme of things, it didn't change what I was capable of doing or rising to in the moment. I just found a new path with different things. And honestly, watching who's currently in the presidential office, like, apparently you can just rise and do differently indefinitely. And then you can rise to the highest level of office. Of course, I don't actually ever want to be in the highest office in the land. Like, I don't have any desire to be a president, or, I used to think I wanted to be successful, but I wanted the feeling of being a high octane CEO. But the more I've watched, especially in the current administration, these high octane CEOs talk, and I'm like, you're not really that impressive. You're actually kind of sad and have lives that I wouldn't want to trade for, other than your bank account. Like, I would want to trade for your bank account, but I'm also wondering what you did to get that money, because it's a lot of money and it is on the backs of a lot of people to accrue that kind of financing and capital in a capitalist society. And so anyway, I'm starting to recognize that the true freedom is non-attachment. And yes, that's in the Yoga Sutras, and that's in, Ayurveda and yogic practices, but it's deeper than that. It's understanding that even our ideas are attachments, our thought processes are attachments, our continued adherence to things are attachments. And that to truly be free, you're not even attached to your dreams. You're attached to self. That's the only thing that doesn't cause disease, is being attached to the essence of who you are. And that's different person to person to person. And that is part of what makes the greater tapestry of life and the world work, is this uniqueness of each person and the uniqueness of each life in general. And there's a beauty in it, but oftentimes we spend our time either believing that we need to be like somebody else's expression, or we adhere to expressions that we feel like either we're only capable of or that we're only willing enough to go up towards. So, in other words, you only feel safe playing it this way rather than being adventurous, right? We overestimate danger and pitfalls and recovery, and we underestimate gain. And people sometimes in business who are very successful, they have flipped the script, but almost always for their advantage rather than considering any loss or disadvantage for others. And that's too blanketed. So I would like to add, a grain of salt with that for you guys, because it's not just that way. And there are good people out there, and there are people who accrue and move masses of money, masses of people, masses of experience that are doing it responsibly and doing it for greater good. I won't get into any political statements of the current, but if you know that it was just Super Bowl weekend over the past weekend, I'm sure you can guess some of the things I'm thinking about. And it's so funny the way people's logic works. I can't with it. But I also realize that is my interpretation and a dissociation or detachment from self. Like, if I am truly attached to myself, there are going to be preferences of things I like. Like, I like certain scents and I like certain smells, and I'm going to like being around certain people and experiences versus others. But that doesn't mean that I can look at some people as bad or good because I don't understand or I don't prefer them. Right? That's like, ugh, the color green is disgusting. I could say that, but in reality is I just don't care for it. I don't particularly find it appealing. And if we can start to lessen these sharp edges that we have, we're less likely to cut ourselves and others with those sharp edges in this game of life. And so what does that mean? I don't know. From the essence of yoga and Ayurveda, that is a way of lessening the karmic impacts on yourself and others, is by recognizing these facts. But in practice, it's hard. We live in a world of sharp edges. We live in a world of defined barriers and defined sectionals, divine Freudian slip, right? Defined tribes and defined groups and borders. So it becomes a nuance and it becomes a dance and it becomes an art to move around and through and with all of these things. The path of least resistance is going to always be your friend, but what if you were able to remove resistance by the way that you're choosing to live and by the way that you connect to self and to the greater life and experiences in the world? What if? So my friends, take time and start to think about, where are you attached to stories rather than the essence of who you are, right? Stories are how we understand the world, but if we're just trying to understand the world, how can we start releasing those stories so that the experience is more mind, body, spirit than one or the other? Most of the stories happen in our mind when most of them should actually happen in our heart. I said something yesterday, and I'll probably go into more depth on it later, but, I was talking about the forces of the different worlds. And so if we are the culmination of mind, body, and spirit, I postulated that gravity is the physical world or the bodily world. The mental world is held together, or gravity is what holds together the body world. The mental world is held together by attention and intention, or just attention. And the spiritual world is held together by love. And I thought that was very profound. So I'm leaving you here with that. I'll talk more about that in the next episode. But until then, be well and be free.